In this video, we will explore about CELPIP Reading Part 2. First, let's reset expectations. If reading Part 1 was about understanding one person's email, then reading Part 2 is about surviving information overload. So this part is not difficult because of vocabulary. It's difficult because self-help throws too many opinions, too many voices, and too many details at you, and then ask you to stay calm and make sense of it. So if you try to read everything carefully, line by line, you will feel lost. That's normal. That's exactly how self-help designs it. Let me say this very clearly. Reading part 2 is not testing your memory or speed or how fast you can read your full text. It is testing whether you can compare viewpoints, identify agreement and disagreement, understand intention, not just information, and whether you can make a balanced judgment based on multiple sources. So, this is how adults read online articles, reviews, notices, and opinions every single day, right? And the biggest trap in part two is like most test takers think their job is to read all four texts fully. That is the fastest way to lose control. Remember that. Self help does not want you to remember everything, it wants you to understand who says what, how strongly, and why. Think of each text as a voice in a group discussion, okay? You don't memorize everyone's speech, right? You remember their position. So, before reading any passage, you have to ask yourself one question. What decision is this question pushing me to make? Because part 2 questions are not what did text A say? They are more like who would agree most, who would disagree, which view best supports this idea, which opinion is the most cautious, optimistic, critical, or balanced. Once you know the decision, you know how to read. So here is the mental system that works. You have to skim each text only to answer three things. What is this person's main opinion? Is the tone positive, negative, or mixed? Are they speaking from experience or are they speaking from their belief or from evidence? That's it. So these three things are pretty important. Kindly make a note of it. Okay. So here you're not collecting details. Okay. You are collecting positions. Once you do this for all text, the question becomes much easier because now you're matching opinions, not sentences. The following are the response from four individuals reacting to a city proposal to introduce congestion charges in the downtown core during peak hours. So this is an example. Let me show you the text. Here is the text A, text B, text C, and text D. So let's go one by one. If you want, you can also just pause the video, try to read it and understand. Let's move on to the questions later. So text A, while congestion charges may reduce traffic volume, the proposal overlooks the financial strain placed on lower income workers who rely on personal vehicles due to limited transit options. Without first improving public transportation accessibility, such measures risk penalizing those with the fewest alternatives rather than addressing the root cause of congestion. And text B's thought is here. Introducing congestion charges is a necessary step toward creating a more sustainable urban environment. Cities that have implemented similar systems have seen improvements in air quality and traffic flow. Although some adjustment will be required, long term environmental benefits should take priority over short term inconvenience. On taxi, from a planning perspective, congestion pricing can be effective if implemented alongside complementary policies. However, without transparent reinvestment of collected fees into transit infrastructure, public trust may erode, reducing the policy's overall effectiveness and public acceptance. And the final one, text D. I understand the environmental motivation behind congestion charges, but the proposal feels rushed. Small business owners in the downtown area may experience reduced foot traffic, and there has been little discussion about how these economic impacts will be mitigated in the short term. So these are the four texts that has been given here. Now you have to pause here. So this is not about who supports it and who doesn't. This is about conditions, priorities, and consequences. Got it? Then we will move to the questions here. The first one, which respondent's concern is most directly connected to issues of social fairness rather than whether the policy itself works? If you remember, then you can easily answer. Let me reveal the answer for you. Text A, because that text A, if you see here, I'll just go back and tell you, it focuses on lower income workers, right, who rely on personal vehicles because public transportation is limited. The concern is not whether congestion charges reduce traffic, but who is unfairly affected by the policy. Got it? So that is a social equity argument, fairness across different groups, not a policy effectiveness argument. Now you understand the difference, right? If you take the text B, text C, and text D, text B talks about environmental success, and text C talks about implementation and trust. Text D, it talks about business impact and timing. Got it? So only text A clearly centers on fairness. And the question two, which respondent would most likely support congestion charges only if additional supporting policies are introduced first? So, this one, of course, text C. Because again, if we go back and check, here in text C, it clearly states that congestion pricing can be effective, right? If implemented alongside complementary policies such as transparent reinvestment into transit infrastructure. So, this shows conditional support, not rejection and not blind approval. Text A questions fairness but does not outline policy conditions. And text B also, it supports the policy strongly without conditions. And text D, this one feels the proposal is rushed, right? But does not describe structured policy requirements. So text C is the only one saying this can work, but only if, which means conditions comes there. Got it? And the third question is, which respondent shows the least concern about short term financial or economic consequences? The correct option is text B. Because if you want, you can just go back and check the text. Text B prioritize long-term environmental benefits over short-term inconvenience. There is no mention of workers, there is no mention of business, not about the income or immediate financial impact. So this shows a willingness to accept short-term disruption for future gains. Okay? And fourth question, which opinion would most likely resonate with policymakers who are concerned about public trust and long term compliance? And the right option is text C. Policymakers care about whether people accept and follow a policy over time. So, text C emphasizes transparent reinvestment, public trust, and effective implementation, all of which directly affect long term compliance. Okay, if you have taken text A, then that highlights only the fairness but not compliance. And if you take text B, that focuses on outcomes, not public perception. And text D, it just emphasizes economic disruption, not institutional trust. Okay, so text C aligns best with how government think. Okay, and the fifth question is, which respondent most strongly implies the changes in public behavior are necessary and unavoidable? For this one, the right answer is text B, because this is the only text that states that some adjustment will be required and also argues that long term environmental benefits should outweigh short term inconvenience. If you remember, the same sentence has been given over there. Okay, so this assumes that people must adapt their behavior, such as changing travel habits, and that this adjustment is both necessary and acceptable too. Got it? So if you see text A, that focuses on lack of alternatives, and text C focuses on systems and oversight. Text D focuses on economic timing and preparedness. So the text B for this fifth question, that is the only thing focuses on behavioral changes as unavoidable. Okay. Each short text in this section is like a chess piece. One voice is strongly supportive, one is very cautious, one is balanced, and one is skeptical. None of them is random. And just like in chess, no single piece wins the game by itself. What matters is how they relate to each other. Got it? So that's all for today's video. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more self-help tips. See you in the next video. Bye bye.